me say Deo. De. Wait for my signal. De. De. Me say 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 Deo. De. Me say 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 Deo. Wow, look at you. Oh, we got to finish the song. So these are just the last two lines. On the second to the last, I'm going to go up, and then on the last one, you'll go down. Daylight come and me wanna go home. Daylight come and me wanna go home. All right. Woo! Harry Belafonte died this week at age 96. Belafonte recorded calypso, blues, folk, gospel, and show tunes. In 1972, on the Free to Be You and Me album, he sang to encourage children to be themselves without being limited by traditional gender roles. Belafonte sang cheerfully and with conviction. He won an Oscar, Emmy, Tony, and Grammy, and yet he risked losing his popularity and worked fearlessly from the 1950s and up until recently, advocating for and agitating for civil rights and humanitarian causes around the world. He sang as he lived, as if inspired by direct experience of that transcending mystery and wonder affirmed in all cultures, which moves us to a renewal of the spirit and an openness to the forces which create and uphold life. Thank you for coming together today to explore this impulse, this notion that it is possible that we have had and still will experience in our lives. Moments of extraordinary clarity and connection to renew our courage, our gratitude, and our joy.
It doesn't have to be the blue iris. It could be weeds in a vacant lot or a few small stones. Just pay attention, then patch a few words together, and don't try to make them elaborate. This isn't a contest, but the doorway into thanks and a silence in which another voice may speak. Please join us in reciting our covenant. Love is the spirit of this fellowship, and service gives it life. Celebrating our diversity and joined by a quest for truth, we work for peace and honor all creation. This is our covenant.
And let's stand together in body or spirit and sing our gathering song number 194, Faith is a Forest. Number 194. Listen to you all. Today is the third time in recent weeks where some or all of our choir have been away, both I hope, away carrying Buff's music ministry beyond these walls to UU congregations in Blaine and Mount Vernon and today in Vancouver, BC. And still listen to you. No wonder I have such confidence that you're going to be able to just let yourself go now and sing with abandon this Harry Belafonte song. There's one phrase, though, on this song that trips me up, so I want to practice this quickly. You don't have to look it up. I'm just going to sing and you can reply. The phrase is, Obatiwa. That's it, Obatiwa. And it's in the line, oh, so is life Obatiwa. So is life. So let's sing that first. So is life Obatiwa. So is life. That's going to come up 3 different times where we say, so is life. The first time doesn't have the abatiwa. The second and third times do, but it's all up here. It's in the Teal hymnal, too, with harmonies and all sorts of wild expressions. So if you know those, feel free to throw them in, but a much simpler version is up here. So.
And we're going to add some movement to the song. And if you would like to help your little ones, if they feel like moving, this would be the time they can. And everyone's invited. Simply, when we turn the world around, and when we say, so is life, unlife, we'll do so turning and waiting. If anybody feels like moving, we can do it together.
So let's stand. Let's all stand. We come from the fire, living in the fire. Go back to the fire, turn the world around. We come from the water, living in the water. Go back to the water, turn the world around. We come from the mountains, living on the mountain. Go back to the mountain, turn the world around. Oh, so is life. Ah, so is life. Oh, so is life. Ah, so is life. You know who I am. I know who you are. See one another clearly. Do we know who we are? Oh, so is life. So is life. Oh, so is life. So is life. Make the river wash the mountain. Fire make the sunlight turn the world around. Heart is of the river, body is the mountain, spirit is the sunlight turn the world around. We are of the Spirit, truly of the Spirit, holy and the Spirit turn the world around. So is life Fatima. So is life. Oh, so is life Fatima. So is life. Oh, so is life Fatima. So is life. Oh, so is life Fatima. So is life. You guys must watch Sesame Street. Because Harry Belafonte had a very touching performance of that on Sesame Street with all the Muppets and the kids. And now we'll sing the kids off to their classrooms.
We hold you in our love.
And I'd like to invite you now into a time of quiet and yet alertness, being fully here, but breathing easy and slowly, being held here in community. There are countless ways for us to experience extraordinary moments of clarity and connection. Many refer to such moments as spiritual or holy, but really there are no words. So I invite you now to let go of labels or anything that might lead you to put up defenses that might interfere with the experience itself. The intention right now is not to suddenly conjure up a life-altering experience, but to invite us to recall moments we've already experienced and to open ourselves to ongoing possibilities. Perhaps you felt at some time an overwhelming explosion of the senses, or a glimpse into realms beyond the senses, when everything falls apart and comes back together again at the very same time. Alone, or in moments of intimacy, set free from fear, or embraced by the divine. In a dark room, or a dark forest. Felt an affirmation of you as you know you are. Or as a blast of courage to let go of an identity that no longer suits your circumstances. Or even the annihilation of yourself into inexpressible unity with the divine. May be guided by those who have come before, Christian mystics, Buddhist monks, Hindu yogis, or totally taken aback because you've had no prior intention. The breathless magic of close encounters with baby birds or ancient rocks, a cloud of tiny tadpoles, or a lone, magnificent whale. Not needing to provide any answers, but reassuring perhaps to recognize that answers are not necessary. So let us rest together now in this quiet alertness and into the silence. I want to thank Andrea and Matt and invite you to practice in your own life this art of improvisation, because I think it's just such a marvelous combination of intense focus and letting go at the same time. And what's more spiritual than that? And then on top of it, to do collaboration, to be in such touch with one another, to be focused and free and united and beautiful. And it's something we all can do in our own way. The stereotype is real, and so is its opposite, and every tangent thereof. The stereotype of the mystic kneeling, heartbeat slow, encountering the ineffable. This is real. And the athlete pushing herself to her limits of exhaustion, beyond physical limits, and yet feeling no pain. Many of us have endured such bliss. For some, it's solitary in the rhapsody of hallucinogens, the unchosen delirium of migraine, or the voluntary and unimaginably painful coming-of-age rituals of some indigenous peoples, or the homeless man reciting poetry in a wheelchair in the rain. For some, it's communal, in a swirl of whirling Sufis, a rave of metalheads, millions of pilgrims in Mecca swarming in composed choreography, or a thunderous wave of activists, arms linked in solidarity in nonviolent resistance. One is tempted to be skeptical, analytical. Well, speaking for myself, my tendency is to pause, ask questions, to seek an explanation. Even when I'm in a state of speechless fascination, I'm aware that my intellect, my monkey mind, is chasing information to provide justification for a logical interpretation of what might just be my imagination. I tell myself that what cannot be understood had best be approached metaphorically, which is, of course, what I'm doing right now, using words, even though words, any words, and all of the words are insufficient. So I've been so pleased to be able to use such music today and to do that music together. Of course, once again, I've been unfocused on the order of service and forgot the music of Stand By Me. So if the tech people can jump in with Stand By Me, and then we'll get back into that. Oh, do you want to introduce, Rupert's going to introduce that. Thank you.
I have to say, I was very relaxed. Okay, thank you. Well, with that, I am Rupert Ayton. And you mentioned monkey mind, and that comes to mind all the time. So sometimes our beloved community AR/AO/MC moments can feel a little heavy and perhaps a little one-dimensional. So let's change things up a little and put a smile on our faces. When someone mentions spirituality to me, I like Maya Spencer's definition that it is a feeling that there is something greater than myself, something more to being human, the ineffable, the awesome. The first time I watched this video, that's what I thought. Here is Benny King's Stand By Me, produced by Playing for Change.
This song says, no matter who you are, no matter where you go in your life, at some point you're going to need somebody to stand by you. Oh yeah, oh my darling, stand by me. No matter who you are, no matter where you go in life, you gon' need somebody to stand by you. No matter how much money you got, all the friends you got, you gon' need somebody to stand by you. When the night has come and the land is dark and that moon is the only light we'll see. No, I won't be afraid. No, I won't shed one tear. Just as long as your people come and stand by me. And darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Come on, stand by me. Yeah. Oh, when that sky that we look upon, well, she tumble and fall on the mountains, they should crumble into the sea. I won't cry, no, I won't shed a tear, just as long as you stand by me. So darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Please stand by me. Stand by me. And darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Please stand by me. Stand by me. Oh, baby, baby. So darling, darling, stand. Oh, stand. Oh, stand. Stand by me. Come on, stand by me. Stand. Oh, won't you stand? Oh, stand. Stand by me. Come on, stand by me. When the night has come and the land is dark, and the moon is the only light we'll see. I won't be afraid. I won't be afraid. Not as long as you, yeah. Stand by me. Thank you. Thank you.
That's pretty real. And still, this is the investigation stage of the service. I tell myself that what cannot be understood must be approached metaphorically, which is, of course, what I'm doing right now, using words, even though words, any words, and all of the words are insufficient. Interestingly, theologians and pagan philosophers say the same thing, proclaiming that God is beyond words, definable only by indicating what God is not. This via negativa, described by Plato, and consistent with the poets who many centuries earlier noted that only through myth or epiphany can any knowledge of the gods be attained. The 12th century rabbi Maimonides said much the same in his Guide for the Perplexed, as did medieval monk Thomas Aquinas, still the most widely cited Christian theologian today. There are no words. The only way to know God is by saying what God is not. In the 20th century, it was Christian existentialist Soren Kierkegaard. No, not all existentialists were atheists, but if you associate them with negativity, well, this negativity is Kierkegaard's way of understanding God. Ask of everything. Is God this? No. Is God this? No. Ask of every characteristic, every concept. Is God this? No. Is God that? No. And when you're all done, when you've gotten through all of the ideas and concepts and hopes and meanings and memories and anything human, and you've said no to all of those, that's as close as you're going to get to defining God. So we're left with intuition, analogy, and metaphor. The thing is, being metaphorical doesn't necessarily make something less real. Even Pope Francis encourages us to see beyond the limits of words used to express rigid doctrines. They are at best metaphors. As he once made an offhand remark about dogs, of course they go to heaven, which of course horrified the bullheaded so-called defenders of the faith around him. What Francis was doing, though, was inviting Christians to release themselves from the righteousness of a capital T truth, demythologizing heaven to suggest that our dreams of the afterlife live in the realm of metaphor, because we're humans. All we can do is live in the realm of metaphor, not fact. And heaven is not a place, he says, but just an insistence that there is more to life than what we see. So a metaphor, then. A story, doctored by art, to become inexplicably, unexplainably real for me, as a desperate cry to the universe of why? Why? And this then tied for no apparent reason to an experience of mercy. Alexander and Eliza Hamilton's son Philip was killed in a frivolous duel. Frivolous, fought because Philip wanted to defend his father's honor. a fight his father could have prevented. So now in the theatrical version, Hamilton, that brash, nonstop, shameless egomaniac, can only share the endless days with Eliza, the love of his life, who he knows he does not deserve. And we're reminded there are moments when the words don't reach. There's a grace too powerful to name. We push away what we can never understand. We push away the unimaginable. Forgiveness. Can you imagine? Forgiveness. Can you imagine? I invited a few buffsters to share with us today not their analysis, but a bit of their own experience. So here's Crystal Neva.
Hi. How fun to be able to come and talk about this with you.
Thank you for being willing to do so. It
My
can be a
pleasure.
little bit vulnerable.
Yeah, deep stuff.
It's also okay to cry.
Yeah, good. Well, when you asked me about this, a couple of things came to mind, but the first one is that for me, getting a grasp of having those moments of divine whatever, the first time that I really want to talk about is just, it happened in the context of grief. It happened as I was grieving the loss of my mother. And at this time, I was young to lose my mother. I was 35, and what was so important to me, I had this deep value of freedom. I wanted to live free. I wanted, and I could think of a million reasons why that was such a powerful value, why that was so important to me. But I misunderstood what freedom was, or at least I understood freedom in a certain way at that time. And it meant not fully committing to anything, like my partner of 15 years, who I had been with. And even though I had no intention of leaving that relationship, I had a foot there was a back door that was open, and I had a little bit of a foot out there. And I had that everywhere in my life, all of the things that I was doing, because I needed to be free. And as I was grieving, one of the things, what really, what came to me in an epiphany, in a moment of paradigm shift in my life, was that freedom, what I was doing wasn't free, but freedom is choosing. Freedom means committing. Freedom means saying, I will choose you. And I will stay with you. And I will do whatever that is. I will walk that path. And that's free, to make the choice and to participate and to fully experience life authentically.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's another, I've been trying to use metaphors of paradox, of bringing words together that don't usually belong together, but that's another great example of, and again, the whole point today is to try to, if you have defenses, as I always have defenses up about, you know, I'm an intellectual, scientific kind of guy, but sometimes throwing those paradoxical ideas against each other helps me to see that I may have been there all along.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Well, it evolved, if I can keep saying.
Yeah.
Because, you know, the thing about choosing is that then you can choose, and then if you forget that you have to keep choosing, that freedom doesn't mean choose and then you're done. Because if you choose and then you're done, you're not free anymore. You are now trapped again into the thing that you've chosen. And so recently in my life, I found myself in various circumstances of trappedness where I left this congregation, I left my work here to become a hospice nurse, and I did that, and it was extremely meaningful work and wonderful, but I really kind of decided that that needed to be my calling, and that I needed to do that work and give myself in that way, and that's what gave my life meaning and my identity meaning.
Just for some context,
Yeah.
Crystal worked here at Buff for 9 years as our religious educator. So
did. Yeah.
that's what you're talking about, the transition.
Yeah, that transition. I left to do this. So so I found myself trapped I was really committed to certain aspects of my identity and certain things that I could or couldn't do. And it was another moment where an epiphany happened for me where I was, where I found myself stuck, and that the new value that I needed to be dedicated to was no longer a duty to people who were dying, but self-care, and that it needed to be about taking care of myself and actually getting honest again about what was real for me and what was true for me. And so in that moment, I knew that I in order to actually take care of myself, I could no longer drink alcohol, that I had to let that go and go through a new journey of exploration. So sometimes it's so surprising, you don't know what's going to happen, and then this thing happens, and the clarity is so pointed and so clear and so beautiful. And so that's been a new path that I'm exploring now. Yeah.
And I like how you're saying that it's not a done path, it's not a close, like you figured it
Yeah.
out, but
Yeah.
that there will be doors that you'll continue to pass through.
Yes.
So,
There definitely will be.
I know you have to get off the couch now, but it makes me think, well, how do I conclude my gratitude for what you've shared? And for some reason, the expression namaste is something that I feel like I can express with integrity, even though there are a lot of other so-called spiritual expressions that don't resonate with me in the same way. The divine in me honors the divine in you, and so namaste, Crystal. Thank you.
Namaste, Paul. Thank you.
Yeah. And this is Lee Seaman.
Thank you. So, I brought a card because there's nothing quite like bullet points to help when you want to talk about the sacred and the ephemeral and the things that go beyond words. But I realized while I was waiting over here in the waiting room that I need your help because it's really easy for me to talk to you guys. I love you and you're so cool and I'm used to the microphone. But if I don't have some help, you won't know anything about me when I'm done talking. So I need your help with that.
Okay. You
So-
have my permission to tell us something about you.
Well, I want to tell you the bullet points that I brought.
Okay.
And then I'm going to ask Paul to help me make those, I don't know what you do with bullet points to
We'll see.
bridge with them, but occasionally I talk at Buff about money, and you probably noticed that. And when I do, I talk with people, which is cool, and sometimes people say to me things like, I just don't know about Buff, because Buff is like people sitting in a building and all together and stuff. And you know what really brings me closer to the divine or the truth of the universe is to go out in the mountains. And so I think I'll stop my pledge, because I really like, the mountains are more meaningful to me than that. And I'm polite because I'm asking people for money, but to myself, I say, yeah, everybody feels that way. Sure, we like to go to the mountains. It's beautiful around here, right? We can go out to the mountains, especially if it's warm and summery and stuff, and we're not in the middle of a death or a divorce or a children something, and and so we're just happy to go out there and commune with the ephemeral. Yeah, me too. But what I realized is I like to be in relationship with the sacred, and of course I am all the time, because that's how we're built, but I forget because I'm not very bright. And so I forget because I get really busy with stuff, and I forget about the sacred. And so I need to be reminded. And if I go out to Elizabeth Park or Mount Baker or some of the gorgeous places we have around here, and I get by myself and I'm kind of quiet, then I can remember that relationship. I need to go to nature to remember that relationship sometimes. But if I want to work on the relationship, I need to be around people, because people, they're very interesting and challenging, and they get me where I would rather not be got, and therefore I grow. And, ooh, I don't like that, but I do sort of in the long term. And to be nourished in that relationship, I come to Buff, because you guys have probably noticed this. There's some pretty cool people here.
But we're also interested in, I think, I'm interested in challenging,
Yeah.
and you're interested in challenging.
Yeah.
So thank you for putting up with my challengingness.
Oh, man, you sang to us. That was so cool.
And I will devote myself to putting up with your challengingness.
Okay.
But I think that's what you're saying. We need to practice. Isn't that what we're moved to do? Or the opposite.
Now it became very ephemeral, and I find myself beyond words, but yeah, I think so. Yeah. I need other people to be around, and to be comforting, and to be challenging, and to be them rather than me. That's irritating, Oh, they don't think like I do. I don't understand it at all. Why couldn't they just figure it out like I have it figured out? Yeah. But so you don't, and therefore I get to grow, which is uncomfortable and cool. Buff is an awesome place. How many times in your life do you hear, when you're in a quiet place, you suddenly hear a toddler saying, what was it, where are we going? Where are we going? And I thought, wow, where are we going? That's yeah. Oh, sorry? Oh, I didn't even see that. But yeah, it's all those important questions, you know?
Well, there don't need to be any conclusions, though.
Yeah. Which is good, because people, you know, I loved what you said about open-ended growth and change. Yeah, because, you know, every one of us gets older every day, otherwise we don't, and that's too bad. So, I mean, you know, we all should go when we go, but I'm just assuming you all keep getting older along with me. That'd be cool. But it's different. You know that T-shirt that says "It's not for sissies"? That's true. Man, I thought it was a joke when I was younger. Yeah, it's not a joke. Yeah. So I'm honored to be a part of this group.
Oh, thank you, Lee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'll take that.
is that what Buzz?
They're gonna, no, we're good. To mind from what Crystal and Lee were saying is trust. And Jan, you want to come up? And how, you know, we really need trust to be able to let go. And then when it comes to, use the microphone.
I want to say to our youth that talk about epiphanies. Could you come every Sunday, please?
You can come to our concert next week.
Okay. Oh, it's just so moving. Thank you.
Absolutely. Do you need a hand? So, but in regard to trust, both the letting go part, but also with Lee's comment about community, about how reciprocal it is, because we have to be trustworthy, because as a community we can practice trustworthiness, and which, puts me in a position to be more trusting when I'm with people who are trustworthy, and vice versa, I hope. So
True, yes. And it does take a lot of work sometimes to find something that you can trust. That's what I found in my life. Early on, when I was a senior in high school, I was feeling low. I was depressed, and I had a brother, John, who was a sophomore at the University of Texas, and he was such a good guy. He was very trustworthy as a brother.
Aim that toward your mouth there. Good.
As a brother, he was amazingly kind, and he was cheerful, always cheerful. So, feeling low, I wrote to him and I said, John, how do you do it? How do you maintain that constant level of happiness, of giving cheer wherever you go? And he said, oh, and his answer was surprising, because we had both been brought up as under the Presbyterian mantle of Christianity, and we were professed Christians as a result.
But kind of by the book.
Very much by the book. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, the Presbyterians have a lot of rules. I don't like rules. Well, what he said to me was surprising, because it was a complete departure. He said, Jan, all you have to do is ask Jesus to take over the driver's seat of your life, and he'll take it from there. Well, I trust John, and so I did what he suggested. And the next day, I remember clearly I was in speech class, and I thought, I feel like a different person. I feel new and clear. There's such clarity. So I was thrilled that asking Jesus to step in had that effect on me. Well, John was a member by that time, of the Campus Crusade, and I had to join their little cadre of crusaders. We sat around and did a lot of praying, a lot of praying, a lot of praying on the beach. We lived near Padre Island in Texas, and so we were on the beach a lot, praying, and that was really hard for me. It was a kind of praying where we went around the circle and had to say something out loud.
Like spontaneous
Prayer, yeah. And my heart wasn't totally with what we were doing, so it was hard. And they were living, of course, as Christians, they were living by the Bible verse, John 3:16, for God so loved the world, that he gave his only begotten Son, that one. And it didn't take me very long to realize that I could not fall in with their beliefs, that I could not be that kind of Christian, And soon after that, fortunately, it was time for me to go off to college, and I went to New Jersey, and the connection was broken with the Campus Crusaders. And I realized that I wasn't a Christian, after all.
So it was really powerful, and then it was not.
It was so powerful, and disappointing, and guilt-making. I did end up feeling very guilty because I wasn't able to be the kind of Christian that I should have been, apparently. But as time went on, I married a Quaker, and I was a Quaker for, quite a few years, actually. We were married for a long time. That did not bring me any epiphanies, I'm afraid. And later, after that was, a lot of that was in England, and because he was an Englishman. But after I moved back to Seattle, I felt this longing in me for something that was, that would reach this sacred place that I know is in me. I needed to reach it and do something with it that was satisfying. So I was told by a co-worker of mine that she was satisfied by going to the City Yoga Meditation Center in Seattle, which is led by Guru Mai Shidvilasananda, I think that's her whole name. And so I went, and it was amazing. It was, as soon as you walked into this meditation center, which is large, you took your shoes off, and there was incense in the air, and you sat on a cushion and began chanting, and we listened to the Guru. She was up on a big screen giving her message. We listened to Guru Mai, and chanted and meditated, and it was magic. It was this full sensory experience. It reached all of the senses, and I am a very sensory type person. And then when I went home, after that first time, after I went home, I found I think I was getting ready for my shower, and I looked at myself, and I thought, this is a different body. This experience that had such an effect on me that I felt completely renewed, and it was beautiful. It was so beautiful. And I learned then that I could meditate without any effort. It was easy for me to fall into this deep place in me that would send me up in spirals above me. It was just wonderful experience. And unfortunately, and I did go there for quite a while and did a lot of meditating, and unfortunately, after a while, I did realize that the messages that I was hearing from Guru Mai were not things I could agree with a lot of the time, and her methods and her rules, there were rules even at this center, and I really don't like rules. You can't wear jeans to the center, for instance. I sort of fell out of love, you might say, with Guru Mai. And gradually I dropped away. But I continued to meditate for quite a while. Somehow I've not been able to meditate to that degree anymore, and I haven't for years. But, you know, I'm still hoping that that sacred place is still waiting for me to rise like a lotus flower through the murky water and bloom. And I have to say that coming to Buff is the best thing I've ever done for myself. No epiphanies, I have to say, but except for musical ones. Music always does that for me. So I'm in this sort of low place of not finding myself completely, but everybody is looking, right? We're all looking.
Wow, what a great way to not end it. We're all still looking, and yet you ended with a note of hope, of recognition,
Yes.
and
yes.
hope.
Always hope. Yeah, oh yeah. And pleasure, finding pleasure in that hope.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you, Jan.
Thank you, Paul.
And I'd like to invite the ushers forward to receive your generous gratitudes. we're not going to have time for a closing song, but we do have to get to Hava Nagila. I don't want to miss that opportunity. But obviously, there's so much richness to share here, and I definitely want to do this again. So we can sing Winds Be Still the next time we do this, or whatever. I just want to quickly let you know that, we have rotating art displays in the narthex there, new ones approximately every month. Well, today, the artist who did the photographs that are out there is going to be out in the hall if you would like to talk with her. Her name is Tricia. That's today. Tomorrow at 7, the first Monday of every month, we have our 7 o'clock Taizé service, an evening service of candlelight and meditation. And then next Sunday, we're going to have a potluck lunch, so please come prepared for that. And afterward, a budget meeting, because the board has completed its final version of the budget, which is going to be presented to you in 3 weeks for your approval, but you're going to get a sneak peek of it next Sunday and a chance to comment or ask questions. But first, we have coffee hour downstairs, and at the bottom of your order service, and also posted in the social hall, I have that question for you that I'm going to invite you to, create a trustworthy environment for one another to maybe talk about which words help you talk about extraordinary experiences. But let's, Carrie has benediction, and then we're going to do Hava Nagila together.
Beauty is before me, and beauty behind me, above me and below me. We are surrounded and immersed in beauty. Beauty dwells within us and expands beyond us, sustains and transforms us. In beauty it is begun, and in beauty it is ended.
Thank you, Carrie. And this was another, it's a traditional Jewish song, but it's another one that Harry Belafonte recorded. So in his honor, the words Hava Nagila roughly mean, let's rejoice, let's sing and be happy. Awake, my friends, with a happy heart, let's rejoice. So the words are going to be up here. You can see the number of repetitions. So after we go through this whole thing once at a moderate pace, then we're going to go through the whole thing again at a little bit faster pace. If you would like room to dance, why don't you make the inner circle. If you don't need quite as much room to dance, you can make the outer, and I'll say horseshoe rather than circle so that you can leave the front open so that you can see the words. So we don't have time to actually practice a dance, so it's really let yourself go.